top a couple of screens. Esquivel to Garcia. Off the deflection. Los Fresnos comes back and wins. Now Santa Maria will put up a three. Bang! Santa Maria!
Here's Warner. Here comes a headed jam. Counted for two. Field. Adios! And the Falcons win on a walk-off. And it's saved. What a game.
Cortez smacked to the left. That is gone.
Rafa Perez, that's my play. Off the backboard, counting, and a win!
And a win. Ryan Perez wins the game for the Santa Rosa Warriors, and they go nuts. And why not?
Welcome one and all here once again to the Luke Fruia Show here from Luke Fruia Buick GMC and Cadillac. Well, I'm Jacob Young. This is going to be a fun show as we have a special guest on the line here today, and that is, of course, the head coach of the Sherryland Volleyball program. That is Ellie Kittleman. So, Ellie, of course, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm coming off a big win last night, so emotions are high, and I'm in a good mood.
Of course, yeah, we'll get into that victory here a little bit later, but of course, and just wanted to start things off of, well, I mean, yes, a big win for you all especially, but let's even get into this, because I always love to ask people from, of course, how did they start playing volleyball and things like that? How did you decide to really get into coaching too?
Yeah, so I grew up playing volleyball and a couple different sports, and I had some phenomenal coaches, and they just made a really big impact in my life. So from a kid, I always knew I wanted to do something in the profession of teaching and coaching. And as soon as I stopped being an athlete after my freshman year of college, I made that decision to switch to coaching. And I've just loved it ever since. It's been about 8 years now.
Of course, yeah, no, that's awesome. And so this head coaching vacancy comes up, and kind of how did this come about where you just, I mean, yeah, how did it come about where you were able to become head coach of Sherryland?
Yeah, it just was kind of crazy. I mean, it's definitely a huge blessing. I think it just opened up at the right time, and I've been looking, and I've just been trying to grow as a coach and keep my eye out. I've coached various levels from middle school to high school and specifically club, and so I feel like I'm kind of around a lot of people, and I'm maybe just in the know of what teams are in need, and this was a school that I was extremely excited to apply for, and from stepping into the interview, I just knew that this was something I really wanted. I loved the environment. I loved the staff. It was just so welcoming. So I was really excited to get the job and get started as soon as possible.
Of course, yeah, and you get started. This is a younger team. Of course, a lot of big power hitters leave because they graduate. So what was that expectation like going into this? Because you knew it was going to be difficult. 31-5A, never easy.
Right. It is a very, very competitive district, and like you said, we're a young group. I think we only had 4 returners, so we've got about 11 new players on this team who have never played at the varsity level, and I think with that came a lot of energy. From the off season and all throughout the summer, the girls were working so incredibly hard because they knew that there were so many spots and roles that needed to be filled on the team, and they were ready to try to step up, and they were just super eager and energized, and so I think that's kind of where we're getting some of our success. Yes, there's been moments where we've struggled because we're young and we're still learning and we're figuring out where we need to be, but as of right now, I think they're doing a great job, and I'm just excited. I know it's a rebuilding year, and our future looks really bright from this year and onward.
Of course, and yeah, talking about that rebuild as well there, like you mentioned, is especially, yes, there have been some struggles. Take us through that kind of first round of district play. I know that expectations kind of most likely changed through that first round of district play, but I mean, how were you able to, I guess, kind of try and get your team to say, yes, we're going to be playing against tough teams. We're probably going to lose, but stay focused throughout this whole thing, because even if we do lose early on, we may still be in this fight all the way till that second round.
Exactly. So I think with these girls specifically, the energy has been phenomenal. Whether we are winning or losing, I have never seen a group of girls play better together, and just be so motivated regardless of what's on the on the scoreboard. We've been down and we've come back, and I just think that speaks volumes of them and their ability to fight. And I think it makes my job easier, the fact that there are so many girls that are wanting to learn and they're wanting to do better, and they have a lot of heart that I don't think is teachable. And these little skills we're working on and we're fixing, but once we start refining those skills and getting everybody where they need to be and working on their confidence, I know that they're going to be unstoppable.
Of course, yes. And like we said, of course, a big win yesterday. But before we get into it, it was interesting for, of course, the games that I've been able to cover for you all. I've seen, of course, there's been some successful moments, but even against, for example, Edinburgh Vella, it seemed, I don't know, it felt like something was missing with the team, and then all of a sudden, even against McAllen Memorial, what were you able to kind of, I guess, say to the players, especially for that start of the second round? Because against Mac High, that looked like a completely different team.
Yes, 100%. I think after we reflected on some of the losses and wins over the first round and kind of what worked and what didn't work, we spent a lot of time, and we're continuing to spend a lot of time focusing on confidence, kind of lessons and things like that, not even having to do with playing, but just kind of talking together and going over the meaning of sacrifice and playing together and just doing a lot of team building. And I think that we've seen a huge difference, specifically with our Mac High game. We came in and we had specific goals. Every girl had a goal that they wanted, and whether it was 5 blocks, 10 kills, whatever it was, they were focused on getting it and making sure that they did their job, but they were also focused on holding each other accountable. And I think that really, really played off. And I think that's kind of the biggest difference is kind of holding each other accountable, being confident in our abilities, but also just having a goal and working towards it.
Of course, of course. And yeah, I guess, just getting fully into this game, after that first set, you all lose, but it was a very tight first set. And again, you did talk about that momentum and being able to hold everyone accountable. But in that second set, normally we've seen, again, the team kind of struggle even in that second set and be down 2-0. Y'all were able to come out strong and swinging in that second set too. So I guess kind of just talk about what you saw and what you were able to just fully get everyone involved.
I think the girls, they just really, really wanted it. They knew that Mac High is a really tough team, and Mac High played really hard, but I know our girls really wanted it, and they understand that it's a long game. Regardless of the first set and second set, we still can go all the way to 5 sets, which is what we ended up doing. So really, in any moment, there can be a shift. And so I think they did a really good job at forgetting the first set and using that second set as an opportunity to take the win and have a set under our belt for that game.
Yeah, and of course, I also did see something that I liked as well. From especially your perspective, when you started to see Cherryland kind of struggle and Mac High kind of taking back a little bit of the momentum, even if you all were ahead, you ended up just saying, okay, I need to call timeout and talk to my players. And so that was just impressive to me, because sometimes you don't see a lot of those coaches doing that.
Yeah, thank you. I think what I was starting to notice is a bit of a momentum shift. And so sometimes calling that timeout can help take a second to pause and regroup. And because we are a young group, I do have to focus on their mindset, just because sometimes being a younger player and not as experienced, they can quickly start to get flustered. And so just checking in, regardless of the score, if I'm seeing that energy shift, I want to make sure that we hone it in and get back to what we need to do and not let it quickly slip away.
Of course, yes. Yeah, and then going back to what I guess that fourth set, you all are able to, yes, down 2-1 at the point, getting that victory. And one of the key players that a lot of the key players, of course, was that front line, as well as from Perez to Pena and even Romina too. That was just an impressive group from where I've seen before.
Yeah, no, I think they stepped up. Pam has been a phenomenal leader. All of our returners have been very positive and motivating, and I think last night was the first time I saw other girls really step up, and it was fun to see, and it was fun to see everyone being excited for each other. And it just kind of clicked in their head. It looked like, with being aggressive up at the net and protecting the net and blocking and pressing over, and those things really are big momentum shifts when we are able to get a big block or a big kill. And I was just really happy that they were able to do that and help us out with that.
Of course, and also talk about, if you can, from what you saw on that final play in set number 5 to get that victory, because it felt like an adjustment with the team and how they kind of forced, I'm sure from the game plan, in Mackay into having to make a tough play, maybe into that right corner where it did end up going out of bounds.
Yeah, Mackay is a very solid team. And they put up a very big fight. They are a phenomenal defensive team, and they have some big hitters. And so we knew that we wanted to make sure we were positioned in a good spot. We're really working on our libero kind of getting to where she needs to be, so that we know, if it's in or if it's out. And so I was glad that we were able to force that hit out with a big block, and being aggressive where they were able to get out a system. And essentially we won that point.
Of course, yes. And then y'all get the win, and I believe we're officially in 5th place in district, controlling your own destiny, which was so key for that victory especially.
Yeah, we definitely knew we needed that win. The girls really wanted that win, and I was really glad they were able to execute it.
Of course, and now moving on, if I'm not mistaken, you all play against Nikki Rowe this upcoming weekend?
We play them on Tuesday, so we actually have a bye, so we're able to get some rest, kind of go back to the drawing board, and get ready for that big game on Tuesday.
How important is that bye going to be, especially this weekend? Because I believe Mackay, if I'm not mistaken, had it the weekend before, and so getting that rest, getting everybody healthy, is that kind of on the game plan?
Yes, it's definitely huge. We prioritize recovery a lot. Our girls had cleaning room, recovering, icing, all those things that, takes away from actually playing on the court, but I think it makes a much bigger difference long term for them to be feeling fresh come Tuesday. So we definitely are going to be taking some time to do so.
Awesome. And of course, yeah, for a bit too, does this team remind you of any team that you've been able to coach before? Or?
Yeah, I think it reminds me of a club team that I had where we just had some, I remember taking a team of 18s to a tournament out in Georgia, and we ended up getting first in qualifying for nationals. And we had a girl that was 5'2", playing in the front row, and it was just like the odds were definitely stacked against us. But they played really well together, and we made it work, and we were smart, and I think that's kind of everything better. And so I do see a correlation between those two is they're having a lot of fun, they're talking, they're cheering, and we're able to score and do better because of that energy.
Of course, and so I guess, yeah, so how have your expectations of this team kind of changed? I think I may have asked this already, but I'm just curious in this span of, yes, how this team has improved, are expectations still the same of going to the playoffs, or do you think that
Yeah,
this team might not lose again for at least the rest of the regular season?
the goal is to, not lose. I think I have always believed in them, and I know that they have that skill and that ability to win some big games. And I think last night they started to believe that too. And so I'm hoping that we can just ride this wave and continue, being energized and working towards the win and believing in ourselves, because I have them at a very high standard because I've seen what they're capable of doing, and I expect us to do that every single game moving forward.
Of course, and I guess kind of my last question for you on this season is, you like you mentioned, you play against Nicky Rowe this upcoming Tuesday, and I know it's still about a week away, but the game plan, of course, will still be the same. But with that, I guess really what I'm trying to ask is that going to feel like a playoff environment? Because really, if you're able to win, it's very much in your favor.
Right. I think the girls kind of know that. I don't want to put too much pressure on them, but they're smart and they know how big this game is, and it's what we want. So we're definitely going to have the same game plan, is to go in strong and be energized and be aggressive. Every team in our district is very competitive, and they're competitive in different ways. And we've seen some teams win, some teams lose, and there's been some upsets, I feel like, this season. And so we're always coming in ready for anything. And, defensively, Rowe is very strong. And so that's kind of what we're going to be working, with that mindset of focusing on putting the ball away and being ready for some scrappy balls to come back over to our side.
Of course. And also, well, just thank you for being on. And if you want to say anything else, the floor is yours. If you want to shout out the fans or shout out anyone that you'd like.
Well, definitely a shout out to everybody in the Sherryland community and all the faculty, parents. Everybody's just so amazing and has made this transition into this head coach so fun. And I'm also just so excited for you all. I think Rio Sports does a really great job of promoting volleyball and just sports in general, and I love it. So definitely keep that up, and I appreciate you having me on here.
Of course, thank you very much. Well, we'll take a break here. We'll be right back, and we'll see you all very soon.
Yes, thanks.
This summer, settle in and reconnect with one another. South Padre Island has so many great places to stay. Condos, resorts, and hotels. Oh my! Book your summer getaway today. And start making memories poolside with the people you care about most. Visit SoPadre.com.
No matter where you are in life, Texas Southmost College is here to help you move forward. Whether you're starting fresh, changing careers, or gaining new skills, TSC has affordable programs designed to fit your goals. It's time to take the next step. Think big. Think bright. Think TSC.
Permatemp Personnel Services has been servicing local businesses for the past 29 years. Leave the hiring to us.
Let us become your personal hiring guru.
We have a network of skilled employees to fit your needs.
Your success is our strategy.
Don't hesitate, call us now.
Back live, we go once again to hear from Luke Fruia Motors. I'm Jacob Young. This is Rio Sports Live Network. It's been, well, that was a fun interview that we got to have with none other than Ellie Kittleman from Sherryland High School, head coach of the volleyball program, and over there, of course, first year under her belt so far it's been up and down, but it's been very well in the span of. It seems like things are going to be up and up and up from here, basically, which is very exciting. And yes, as we talked about last night's game for Sherryland High versus Mac High, it was at Mac High, and it looked like Mac High was going to take it after set number 1, but Sherryland High School had other plans as they were able to win set number 2, and then ended up losing set number 3 to give Mac High the advantage. But Sherryland High School knew that the new Sherryland High School Lady Rattler team knew that they had other options, or knew that they had other plans in mind, and sure enough, getting that victory was key in set number 3, or check that set number 4, to give themselves an opportunity to win in set number 5 and dominated in that 5th set. So congratulations to themselves. They put themselves in 5th place, an opportunity to just climb back into it one team at a time, and very exciting in itself. They get the bye week this Saturday, or they get the bye weekend this Saturday, and then they'll play, of course, again on Tuesday, which will be very nice and relaxing for themselves in the sense of, well, getting refocused, re-energized for a big, big game that will really, in a way, dictate their season. If they win against the Nicky Rowe Warriors, well, it puts themselves in the better opportunity of getting into the playoffs potentially, which is very exciting. So always looking forward to that. Now, we move on. Of course, that was a game that I got to cover, and in volleyball, which is very exciting. Now the next thing, of course, is going to be high school football. It comes on tomorrow and Friday. You're not going to want to miss here on Rio Sports Live Network from, of course, the BISD channel to, of course, on our app to YouTube, as well as none other than Sherryland channel, if I'm not mistaken. We'll get the Realm of Games here very quickly. I just wanted to make sure. And there we go. The Realm of Games for this team this weekend will be this Thursday, of course. The Channel 4 games, to be exact. Your broadcast times are at 6:30 p.m. Pioneer, which is going to be at Richard Thompson Stadium. They're taking on Brownsville Veterans Memorial. That's going to be a phenomenally fun game. Aaron Sines will have the call on that one here tomorrow, and that will, of course, be on the Sherryland channel and or Channel 4.1, which will be very exciting, as well as YouTube, like we mentioned, and as well as on the app and the website, I should say, for Rio Sports Live Network. So a lot of places to catch the game, which will be very exciting. And then for your other football game, it will be Santa Maria taking on La Villa, which will be very exciting. Rudy Zamaripo will get the call there. Will be on RSL2, the channel, and also on Valley Central, the Valley Central app. And so, of course, it will also be, like we mentioned, RSL2 on the website and on the Rio Sports Live app, as well as it will also be on none other than the app for, well, it will also be on the website, the app, and YouTube, which will be very fun. And then the last Thursday football game we'll have Sam's Stadium finally is open to the public. And finally, we will have football back at Sam's Stadium, which is great for myself. It's great for Joe Bowling. It's great for Rio Sports Live Network. And it's great for the fans, meaning they won't have to cram into Brownsville Veterans Memorial Stadium or at, of course, the Brownsville Sports Park, which, yes, is good, but it's no Sam Stadium for the press box or anything like that, is what I'm trying to say. And so we have a little bit more luxury at Sam Stadium, and BISD does a phenomenal job of being able to accommodate us and give us the tools that we need to make a proper, awesome football broadcast for you all, which is always exciting. And Sam's Stadium inaugurally opening back up with the upgrades that they've had to the football turf and do a couple of other things I'm certain of. Playing against Brownsville Hannah for the first time, both of these two schools, they're in the same district, which is very exciting. Not the first time, but it hasn't been too long that these two schools are in the same district, because for a while Gilpin and, of course, Brownsville Hannah's head coach, they played against each other in non-district, both at home and both a home-home series before they were in district, which is always exciting. So we got to see when Gilpin and the team struggled a little bit against non-district opponents, because it was very difficult non-district opponents, that Gilpin knew exactly what he was doing and all of a sudden switched things up and said, I remember giving one of the player of the games, and Gilpin goes over and tells his team, they said we were dumb for playing against all these teams, that it was going to be difficult, and it was just going, everything. Point is, they won that game, and it was really big, and Brownsville Hannah, of course, having that really good year that season, if I'm not mistaken, too. So it was really cool to see. And so these two schools, they know each other, they know how they play, and so in a way, that the competition at 6:30 p.m. at Sherryland High School, again, Richard Thompson Stadium. That's a football stadium to be exact. They play Los Fresnos. Sherryland plays Los Fresnos. That will be John Trevino who will have the call for you all on Rio Sports Live Network. That will be on the Sherryland channel and or, of course, Valley Central. So Sherryland channel on the app and the website valleycentral.com, or Valley Central, I believe, on their app. Which will be exciting. And then, of course, you'll have it on YouTube, which will be very fun, too. Moving on as well, all the rest of the broadcast times really at 7 p.m. and or 6:30. We'll wait and see here. Donna and Donna North play against each other on Friday night, and that's going to be Kenny Trevino who will get the call on that one. Very exciting for that little rivalry there. Broadcast time at 7 p.m. At Sam's Stadium. That's going to be Brownsville Rivera taking on PSJ Memorial. Couldn't be any more exciting for that one. Marco Munguia will get the call on that, and that will be on the BIC channel. The other game for the Donna North and Donna High game will be on RSL 1. Now on the Bloodhound channel, you'll have none other than Kevin Naro and the St. Joseph Academy crew. We'll call St. Joseph Academy taking on La Feria. So interesting to note there. At 6:30, that broadcast time starts at 6:30 p.m. Also, another 6:30 p.m. start time, as it still stands, will be PSJ North versus none other than Harlingen South. That will be at PSJA ISD Stadium. And we will have none other than myself calling that one for you all. That will be on the channel of RSL2 on the app and the website, as well as YouTube. So very exciting there. Then, of course, on RSL3, your final game of Friday night. That will also start at 6:30 p.m. at Bogus Ford Stadium. Will be Harlingen taking on none other than Cueto, which will be interesting. That will be Rudy Zamaripa taking that call once again, and that will be on RSL3 on the app, website, and also on YouTube. For your Saturday to be exact, we will have Pioneer taking on PSJ North, and that will be a fun volleyball game that will be at Pioneer to be exact. Pioneer still hold the lead in district play with one loss now as a blemish on their record in district play, so they will not make the history of going undefeated in district play, but still hold first place. So a key victory here on this Saturday will be what they will need. And then, of course, Brownsville Pace taking on Ed Couch Elsa. That will be on the BISD channel. And then Rivera taking on Lopez. Will be Nacho taking the call there on RSL 1. Those are all volleyball for you all begin at 12 p.m. That is on Saturday, October the 4th. So very exciting once again. Your slate of games this weekend is going to be very interesting. Again, I'm going to break down the games that I'm covering for this upcoming weekend, this Thursday in general, because both of these two schools, in a way, especially for Mission Veterans Memorial, they found their groove. This team is a team where you really, you know what you're going to get now with Gilpin. And it's interesting because, yes, when I called this team, when I was able to call this team playing their football game against Ed Couch Elsa, they looked like a completely different team than the weeks that have kind of come up. And this is the biggest thing that we can really kind of go down to. They're 4-1, of course, overall. And I believe still will have a non-district game. So this is not a district game like I anticipated or thought. So they're playing again against this. And like I said, it's started to become this miniature almost rivalry in a way, because these two schools, of course, they respect each other and they play against each other on the road and at home and on the road and at home a lot in non-district play. And so it makes things very interesting, to say the least. This, of course, it's Pioneer, Mission Veterans Memorial, Sherryland High School, Roma, and Alice. And so it's a 5-team district, and so it's not as big of a district as you would necessarily expect. Make sure on that with, of course, Brownsville Hanna High School. This is, of course, going with Max Preps, but it's interesting to say the least for both of these two schools, of course, still playing against each other. Yes, they have not played in district either, so you would have to guess Brownsville Hanna, yes, they're with Los Fresnos, Hanna, and Brownsville Veterans Memorial, Los Fresnos, Brownsville, Hanna, Harlingen High School, and San Benito. So none of those schools have played against each other, and that's the whole reason, of course, why Harlingen's playing against a team called Cuero. So it all makes more sense now. And now I can be confident and, of course, telling you all about this game. Yes, a non-conference miniature rivalry in a way. Rivals on the field, really not a rival off the field at all. I don't think any of these schools have any hatred in a way towards each other, because it'd be weird if they did. Anyways, this is going to be a great game at Sam's Stadium, because these two schools are very evenly matched. For Hanna High School, actually, right now, Rodriguez has more passing yards, or check it, rushing yards, than Reyna does, with 114.5 compared to 80.4 rushing yards per game, which is very interesting. Then you have Reyna with 270.2 passing yards per game, with Chavez's 118 passing yards per game. So that's where the offense really strikes for Mission Veterans Memorial High School, and it opens up the door for a lot more of the type of playing that they do. Both of these two schools completely different in a way as how they play against each other, or how they play on the offensive front and basically on the defensive front. It's going to come down to defense. I would not be shocked to see a defensive game back and forth. I'd like to see both of these two schools just light up the scoreboard. In general, that would be a fun game, a shootout back and forth, a potential overtime, and one stop makes a difference. That's my hope for the game. I don't think it'll happen, because these two defenses seem pretty good. We'll get to that in a minute. Of course, the receiving yards of Martinez, 56.2, with Telemantes is 26.8 yards per game on receiving. Total yards per game is Reyna's 350.6, with Chavez's 121.5. So really, the offense for Mission Veterans Memorial High School is spot on, almost perfect for this team. They've played against difficult opponents it's not like they played against easy opponents, because that's not the truth. Those teams, like Ed Couch also, were not an easy team to get by. That second half was just a different team, and from then on, the Patriots have really looked like that team that has a chance to go to the third round potentially, but of course that second round always is a stumper, as they could end up matching against a team like a very, very difficult team is what I'm saying. I forget who they played that one year in Laredo, but it wasn't. It was at the stadium, the SAC, but it was a purple. Check that was actually a Mercedes. So still playing against a very difficult school in that second round, a San Antonio school. It's difficult to get past that hump in a way, and we'll see how it all goes. As we move on, total yards, the tackles per game now for Mission Veterans Memorial High School, La Bastida, 10 yards. Or to check that, 10 tackles per game, with Moya's 8 tackles per game, basically, on average. Sacks per game, La Bastida gets about 1 sack a game, with Bravos just under 1 sack a game, which is very impressive, again, on the defensive side for Mission Veterans Memorial High School. If you're able to get to the quarterback at least 1 time per game, you're really disrupting the team's. You're really able to get into the offensive line, into the pocket a lot more than you'd expect. The pocket collapses. You make pressure on the quarterback, and all of a sudden the quarterback throws a bad pass, incomplete, picked off, or has to throw it away again. And so that's very impressive, or has to take off and run maybe for a couple of yards in the end. And so that's a lot of positive again, and the advantage truly, truly goes to Mission Veterans Memorial. For points a game, 9.6 points a game compared to 9 points a game for, of course, from Reyna to Rodriguez, just on his own. And so we go down to, like we said, the team comparison for rushing yards a game. This is where Hannah High School has the advantage. And that is 157.4 yards for Brownsville Hannah compared to 130. .2 passing yards. So here's the difference. 270.2 passing yards a game is absolutely very impressive. You combine that with the rushing attack, it's over 300 yards a game. On offense, we already read the combined total for offense for Mission Veterans Memorial. But that's what happens with the receiving yards at 270.2. Receiving yards, of course, that would make sense if their passing yards is 270.2. 65.2 passing yards would mean 64.2 receiving yards, which is interesting. Their total yards a game is 402.2 yards a game compared to 222.6 yards a game for Hannah High School. Brownsville Hannah's defense has to be on the mark completely. If not, it's going to be a very, very big issue in the end for none other than Hannah High School. The Eagles have a chance in this one to potentially get blown out. That's the underlying fact at the moment. Is Mission Veterans Memorial, yes, of course, you can look and say, well, they didn't play a great team. They played in the Battle of Conway, and Mission High School, they're struggling very much. They played against Ed Couch Elsa and found a way past them. And of course, people can say on and on that that's mainly just stat padding in a way. We'll see, of course, when we get there tomorrow and how this game actually will play out, because I have a feeling that if Mission Veterans Memorial come out with the possession on the first drive and are able to march down the field with no harm in the world, as in really with kind of burning Brownsville Hannah's defense left and right, it's going to be a long day for them. So that's, of course, my thought process, and that's, of course, my analysis for this Veterans Memorial High School compared to 12 points a game for Brownsville Hannah High School. Each quarter, it's very interesting. Mission Veterans Memorial High School averages about 9 points in the first quarter, meaning they'll most likely get a field goal and a touchdown and make it just about 10 in that first quarter. That second quarter, well, really, and for that first quarter, this is an interesting average for Brownsville Hannah High School, and it really just goes to show how much of a struggle it is for this team to have that kind of offensive front in a way. It is how much their offense is struggling. 4.3 points a game. I don't know how you can average 4.3 points in the first quarter. You're averaging literally 2 safeties or a field goal and somehow an extra point. Really almost 5 points, so still averaging somehow, some way, a safety. Then 14 points in the second quarter is on average for Mission Veterans Memorial High School compared to 0 points in quarter number 2. And that's where, just in general, Brownsville Hannah High School have to find a way to get points in that second quarter. Find a way to get points in the first quarter, meaning a touchdown, at least scoring 7, at least in that second quarter, scoring 7 more, maybe 10 in that second quarter would be great for this team against a very, very difficult Mission Veterans Memorial High School team. You go to that third quarter, and again, Mission Veterans Memorial averaging 2 touchdowns and not averaging any points in the fourth quarter, because by that point, it's just basically a game that's wrapped up, and Mission Veterans Memorial just trying to lower everything up and kind of end it. So it's interesting in my eyes. Brownsville Hannah have had to go to overtime. They scored 3 points, so their average is about 18 points per game for Brownsville Hannah High School, 33 points a game for Mission Veterans Memorial High School on average. Very impressive in general, and again, that's going to say a lot. We're going to take a quick break here, which we haven't necessarily taken a lot, but this is very impressive. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back after this.
This summer, settle in and reconnect with one another. South Padre Island has so many great places to stay. Condos, resorts, and hotels. Oh my! Book your summer getaway today.
No matter where you are in life, Texas Southmost College is here to help you move forward. Whether you're starting fresh, changing careers, or gaining new skills, TSC has affordable programs designed to fit your goals. It's time to take the next step. Think big. Think bright. Think TSC.
Past 29 years.
Leave the hiring to us. Let us become your personal hiring guru.
We have a network of skilled employees to fit your needs.
Your success is our strategy.
Don't hesitate. Call us now.
Elevation, AT4, AT4X, Denali. Case closed. Fruia GMC. We're professional grade.
Back we go once again here. I'm Jacob Young. This is Rio Sports Live Network from none other than Luke Fruia Buick GMC in Cadillac. If you're in the market for a new truck or car or SUV, come by at Luke Fruia Buick GMC in Cadillac. They'll hook you up very well. Always friendly. Just off of Price Road, Old Alice Road. So looking forward to all of this. So once again, the next one to talk about is PSJ North versus Harlingen South. Let me tell you one thing. This is what I would call the district of death. And it's more of a soccer term, as in soccer, especially in the World Cup or in the Gold Cup or in the UEFA Euros or anything like that, what they would say is the group of death. And that's, of course, from group A, B, C, D, E, and F even. Especially, and one group would have Spain, Italy, France, and then like a Denmark or something of that sort. And it's a group that is insanely difficult to get out of. The top two definitely deserve to be there, but if any of the other teams were in a different group, they'd probably make it through. Is the whole point of that's the toughest group out of it. And so this is the toughest district in my eyes of what I've ever seen. Let me read you, of course, the district once again. For those of you all that don't know, this District 5A, Division 1, Region 4, District 15. It's a crazy district. Flower Bluff, Weslaco East, PSJ North, Corpus Christi Veterans Memorial, Harlingen South, Donna High School, Brownsville Rivera, PSJ Memorial, and Donna North. Now, for the top five, we'll go with the top five really quickly. Flower Bluff, Weslaco East, PSJ North, Corpus Christi Vets, and Harlingen South, all fighting for a playoff spot in general, which is, of course, the top four. It's wild in my eyes. You put Flower Bluff in the same district with Corpus Christi Vets and PSJ North and Weslaco East, and then Harlingen South you add on to it. And the teams that are undefeated is kind of insane, with Flower Bluff being undefeated. And Weslaco East being undefeated with 2-0, and PSJ North doing the same exact thing with a loss of Corpus Christi Veterans Memorial. And it's interesting, of course, to note that for PSJ North, they're looking good right now. Of course, this Friday's game at 7 p.m. at PSJ ISD Stadium at home against Harlingen South, you would expect for most likely a really big victory for PSJ North. They've just been outstanding throughout this season, scoring points that you wouldn't necessarily think of. The biggest thing is, right off the bat, PSJ North, they can run the football. 176 yards per game for rushing for Guerra, compared to Edwards' 56. For Schroyer, that's Harlingen South High School's passing game, is outstanding in itself with 217 passing yards compared to 57 for Garcia. So you can right off the bat see PSJ North is a running football team. And it does not surprise me in the slightest. Coach Matthew Coppin loves to do this. I saw it work really well for years and years and years at McAllen Memorial High School, where he was, I believe, the offensive coordinator, if I'm not mistaken, there. And so he keeps the same philosophy as stubborn coaches do, but again, it's worked. He's gotten this team to the regional semifinals several times. He's gotten this team to at least back before divisions or back before they kept changing the district, to the regional quarterfinals. Of course, they lost in an upset fashion to a team that is Brownsville Veterans Memorial that had that amazing run and only lost to Smithson Valley, a state champion, that same year. So this, again, I really do enjoy Matthew Kaufman, the way that he coaches his team, because it seems like this team can be that good again this year, and I think they will. You go back on to what we're seeing here, 60.4 yards for Cortez, and Garza's 29.8 yards for receiving yards. So, again, Arlington South High School really liking to pass the ball a lot more. Schroyer with the 260.8 total yards a game, and with Guerra's 193.8, so 193.4 or 194 yards, total yards per game is pretty impressive, with, of course, still 261 yards a game for Schroyer. As for the tackles per game, 8.5, which makes it really 9 yards per game for nine tackles per game for Garza, and 12 tackles per game for Alvarado for PSG North. For the most part, these things are still very close together because it's two different offenses. One loves to run the ball a little bit more than passing. One loves to pass the ball more than running it. And so then, of course, on defense, it's for the most part pretty evenly matched, with only 3 less tackles on average for Harlingen South High School. One sack per game for both teams, really, from Lerba and Montemayor. And then, of course, 1 point really per game, I guess, for field goals for Ovalle or something like that. And then a pancake block is pretty interesting. You don't necessarily see that stat that often in PSG North, but there's at 16. So their passing defense is really good, which is going to be scary if the Harlingen South Hawks cannot get their passing game going like they did against Brownsville Veterans Memorial, or check that, against Brownsville Rivera. Then this might be a struggle for this team to get anywhere going. But who knows? 80 and a half passing yards for PSG North is interesting, with their rushing yards being 344. The game that I got to cover with Harlingen South High School, they did a really good job of wrapping up on the defense for that running game against Brownsville Rivera. Sorry, it was at Brownsville Veterans Memorial High School, so it's a little, still just a tiny bit confusing with that because, of course, Sam Stadium wasn't open at the time. And you keep going back to it. It's that deal of the back and forth sort of thing going. 79.3 yards, 21.8 yards, and all that fun stuff for tackles per game, or 79.3 tackles per game for the team comparison compared to 21.8. So PSG North, of course, they're favored in all the stats possible, and even the points, with 48 points on average per game, compared to the Harlingen South 27.4 points a game. And I could tell that's a problem because, again, that second half for Harlingen South against Brownsville Rivera, they couldn't get the ball rolling. They got completely outmatched in that second half on offense to try to get somewhere against Brownsville Rivera. So that is very, very concerning, in the sense of, if they want to be able to have a game, they need to play perfect football and continue to score touchdowns and making some defensive turnovers and not allowing for the offense to get going for PSG North. As for PSG North, what do they have to do? Same deal. Just continue playing Raider football. It's worked. Again, 16 points on average in the first quarter compared to 4 points on average for Harlingen South. Compared to somehow 2 points on average for Harlingen South in the second quarter is the 13 points for PSG North. 7 points on average for PSG North in the third, and Harlingen South doesn't have any points on average in the third quarter, which is, again, scary for them because I've seen them go scoreless in the second half before. Both games that I'm covering, offenses for the opposition that seem to be the less favored team need to get going in order to have a chance to win. It's simple. It's easy. Easier said than done, I should say. So we'll see how all of that goes here this afternoon. I'm excited. This is going to be fun. It's going to be a blast of a game. It's going to be a blast of a weekend, like we mentioned. Still a good volleyball game. Afterwards, we'll get to stay with PSJ North. They'll head to Pioneer High School for volleyball, playing against the number 1 team in district. And again, we'll even make a note of that really quickly with Pioneer High School volleyball. With Pioneer High School volleyball here, we'll get you all with exactly where everyone is in district play. It should be pretty straightforward. 27-4 overall, 9-1 in district with a 3-0 victory over Far San Juan Alamo Memorial last night. You scroll all the way down, and well, of course, we'll see who they play against next is the PSJ North. Now, of course, the standings, like we mentioned, where do they stand? Still in first place with a 9-1 win-loss record in district play. 8-1 is Villa. McAllen Memorial is 8-2. Rowe are 5-5 in fourth, and Sharyland High School also 5-5 in fifth place. In sixth place is McAllen High School with 4-5. And then PSJ North, 3-7, 1-8, and 0-9 is PSJ. All the PSJ schools, to be exact, PSJ North, PSJ Memorial, and PSJ Southwest. And really, basically, they're already just about all 3 of them eliminated from district to play with an opportunity for playoffs. Of course, PSJ North, they would have to, well, win out, basically, to have a chance. As for Sharyland High School, it's really simple. It just, of course, easier said than done again, as we talked to head coach Ellie Kittleman. Just needing victories, needing to win. 8-2, of course, for McAllen Memorial is the reason why they sit in third place. A lot with losses to, of course, Pioneer High School and Villa. That can change, as McAllen Memorial still have to play against Villa and Pioneer High School to try and make the try to be the difference maker there, and to try and steal a district. So interesting, of course. This past Tuesday, Cal Memorial won 3-1 over Rowe High School. So very fun there. So we'll wait and see how it all plays out. But that'll do it for us here from Luke Fruia, Buick GMC and Cadillac. Sharyland ISD for being so nice, and it was a last-minute interview with Ellie Kittleman, but set up from David Culberson to the athletic director, getting us in contact with Kittleman. Thank you to Coach Kittleman for allowing us to take some of her time up and interview her. I felt like it was a good broadcast or a good interview. Hopefully you all enjoyed it, and hopefully you all enjoyed the whole entire show. I've been Jacob Young. This